Hey everybody, in this video what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about some post-Kantian deontologies, and we're also going to get into some of the minutiae of different kinds of duties. Let's get into it. Now, in order to mitigate the apparent stringency of Kant's categorical imperative, later deontologists have separated duties into different categories, and with these categories in view, we can say that some duties are more important than others. So for Kant, our duty was to the categorical imperative. We must only do something if we'd be okay with everybody doing it. We must never treat people merely as means, but always as ends in themselves, and we must do this collectively as a kingdom of ends. Another deontologist that lived later, W.G. Ross, actually divides duties into separate categories, saying some categories are more important than others. For example, his base duties are beneficence and non-maleficence. That means our default standard duties are to do good to others and to not do evil to others. We should be good to everybody that we meet, generally speaking, and we shouldn't go around being cruel and mean. Non-maleficence means that we are not evil to people that we come across. Do good, don't do bad to people that you meet. And that's our default position. Then he also has duties based on past obligation. These are things that we sign up for that are situational. They're only duties if we sign up for them. So these include fidelity, reparation, and gratitude. 1. Fidelity. If you make a promise, you're supposed to keep it. Anytime you've ever signed your signature on a credit card slip, that is an example of fidelity. What you're saying is, I claim that I'm going to pay this. I promise to pay this. So basically, fidelity means keep your promises. You don't have to make any promises, but if you do, you should keep them. Also, the next duty is reparation. If you make a mistake, you should own it. You're in the parking lot, you back up into another car, and you just ding another car. The duty of reparation says you didn't sign up for this, but now that you find yourself in this situation where you've made an error and you've caused someone else some harm, make it right. And you have a duty, an obligation to make it right. And then gratitude. We have a duty to be thankful to people that do good to us and go out of their way to do more good to us. We should be thankful. And so when someone does good for us, we shouldn't merely just go, meh, whatever, but be thankful. Thankfulness, gratitude is itself a duty. Someone does something for you, be thankful. You don't have to just be thankful all the time, but if someone goes out of the way to do something for you, you should be thankful. Finally, we have ongoing duties. These aren't merely the starting point, and they're not things that are situational. These are ones that they never stop. For example, with fidelity, you keep a promise, you fulfill your promise, it's done. Ongoing duties keep on going. They never, ever, ever stop. So they are self-improvement and justice. Self-improvement is this. You have a duty to make yourself better, whether that be with, say, your physical health or your own education. You have a duty to others around you and to yourself to make yourself a better person. For example, if you decide to do something that's injurious to your health, let's say you smoke cigarettes constantly, you're smoking a carton of cigarettes a day, eventually that's going to cause harm to you, but not just to you, but to others around you. Your body will decay, and other people are probably going to have to take care of you because of your own mistreatment of your own body. So you have a duty to take care of yourself and to make yourself better, but not just physically. You have a duty to educate yourself. The more you educate yourself, the more you make yourself a better citizen, the better you are a participant in that third formulation of the categorical imperative in the kingdom of ends. Also, we have an ongoing duty towards justice. That means treating people impartially and rectifying wrongs. That doesn't stop. It's not merely based on situations. That's something that we do every day. We treat people justly. Also, deontologists make a big deal about talking about how intention is important. Our goodwill, how we go into a situation, and our attitudes mitigate the goodness of an action. So we know sometimes we can go into a situation with the right reasons and that doesn't turn out well. Did we do the right thing if we have the best intentions? In a deontologist mindset, yes, you did the right thing, even if the consequences don't turn out that way. And so our intention and our will plays a part in determining if we did the right thing or not. And this is why, in the Western tradition, we have degrees of certain kinds of wrong. For example, on paper, in terms of consequence, there's really no difference between first-degree murder, second-degree murder, and manslaughter. In all three instances, somebody killed somebody else. But in our legal system, we have differences between first-degree murder, second-degree murder, and manslaughter. First-degree murder, you were seeking this person out. I've been wanting to kill them for years. I've been planning it for a long time. They're dead. There is a malevolent intention. You were wanting evil from the beginning. Second-degree murder, on the other hand, is not where there's this cold intention, but it's a crime of passion. You find your significant other has not been faithful to you, so you kill your significant other. It's not something you were planning and seething about for years. It's something that happened in the moment. Still a crime, still wrong, but considered less severe than in the first case. And then there's manslaughter. Somebody offended you, you ended up punching them in the face, you didn't know they had a heart condition, and somehow from you just punching them, not trying to beat them, not trying to kill them, they end up dying as a result. You didn't mean to kill them, you just meant to punch them. But nevertheless, the result was the same. The punishment here is less severe in manslaughter, despite the fact that manslaughter sounds like it's more severe. Murder versus manslaughter. Manslaughter sounds intense, but it's actually the most benign of these crimes. The end result in all three of those scenarios is identical. Someone killed somebody else. We have degrees of severity, degrees of wrongness, and also associated degrees of punishment with each of those crimes. Manslaughter is not considered as bad as murder in the second degree, which is not considered as bad as murder in the first degree. And the fact that we separate these by intention comes from the deontological tradition. And in the deontological tradition, the intention that we have plays a part in how we determine the rightness or wrongness of an action. Were you trying to do the right thing? If you were, then you did the right thing. Even if the consequences end up not being good. For Kant and classical deontology, you maintain and preserve those categorical ethical principles. So if you find yourself in the situation, say your grandmother is on her deathbed, she's not looking good, and she says to you, "Do I still look beautiful?" And she looks ratchet. The deontologist would have to say here, when grandma asks, "Do I still look beautiful?" you have to go, "Sorry, grandma, you don't. You look pretty bad." Because we have a duty and an obligation to tell the truth, even if it's uncomfortable and difficult and upsetting. Our obligation lies there. So deontology really has this focus on the intent of our actions. So in short, that means it's our intent and our goodwill that makes something, some action, good. So not only does this conclude talking about deontology in this lecture here, this also concludes talking about these ethical theories as abstractions, as just purely ethical theories. What's going to happen from here on out is we're going to look at some elements of engineering as a discipline, and then spend the rest of the semester synthesizing these two areas of interest, ethics with engineering and how they overlap. And the first thing that we're going to do after the midterm exam is we're going to look into the conceptualization of codes of conduct and notions of responsibility in the workplace generally, but also within the domain of engineering. So stay tuned for that.